Hello, my people. Good day to you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time zone you're listening to this, thank you for tuning in every single day to listen to me on Daily Mind Shifts. My name is Michael Ojola for Mindset Transformation Africa. And on today's episode, I want to talk about what we think and how it records itself in our mind. Let me anchor today's episode on this statement. What you think can record itself in your mind as a real event. Reprogram any ineptitudes in your attitudes today. What you think can record itself in your mind as a real event. Reprogram any ineptitudes in your mind today. Now, that is a heavy thought, all right? But trust me, it is not just thought-provoking. I think it is life-changing. It is life-altering when you understand it and when you apply it. You see, our mind doesn't always distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what actually happened. It doesn't most of the time know the difference. The images you rehearse repeatedly in your mind, the ones that are soaked in your emotion, your fear, or your belief, it can etch itself so deeply into your inner world that your subconscious begins to treat them as fact. Your mind essentially stores them as real events, even though they did not happen, even though it's just you thinking about them, even though it has not really materialized in what we call the real world. Your mind essentially stores them as real events. Let us settle in for a moment, all right? Think about that. That means if you constantly think, I always mess this up, or people never support me, or I'm not leadership material, your brain begins to carve grooves, all right? Your brain begins to create neural pathways, mental highways that drive your attitude, that drive your choices based on those assumptions. You start acting in ways that support all those things that you kept thinking about. If you kept thinking, I always mess this up, you start discovering that you keep working around messing things up. If you always think, oh, people never support me, you discover that the way you behave, the way you talk, your attitude, you see, people will stop, like it will be as if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not a leadership material. Nobody will trust you with a position thinking like that. And you will think, oh, it's because I'm not a leadership material. You will not think it is because you started thinking you are not a leadership material. Maybe an event happened in your life that made you to doubt your leadership quality. And since that time, you kept repeating to yourself that you are not a leadership material. Boom! Your mind saw that as true. Your mind will start inspiring some actions that will sabotage your leadership potential. That is how it works. Do you understand me? Not because they are true, but because they've been rehearsed. You've trained your mind, your subconscious mind to think that way, and before you know it, your action will support your beliefs. The truth is, some of us are walking around carrying memories that never even happened. Woo! That is tough. A tough pill to swallow. But some of us are walking around carrying memories that never even happened. We are haunted by interpretations of moments, not the moments themselves, but our interpretation of what really happened. That rejection, it may not have been rejection at all. That silence, it might not have been judgment at all. But if you thought it was, your mind recorded it as if it was. Now, pause with me. What does that mean for how we live? It means that to truly shift, to truly grow, to truly heal, we don't just need new circumstances. We need new recordings. We need to start rewiring the tracks in our mind. We need to start reprogramming those default mental downloads that influences how we show up in the world, especially when it comes to our attitude and our actions. See, attitude is everything. But this is the twist, all right? It is not just what you feel about life. It is the story your mind has rehearsed about how life will treat you and how you should treat life in return. Have you ever seen someone with incredible potential but a horrible attitude? The kind of person who could light up a room but walks in with a cloud of negativity, skepticism, and entitlement. Chances are They are not just a bad attitude person. No, they are carrying old recordings that tell them that people don't see their worth. Don't trust anyone. If you are not defensive, you will get hurt. That is the recordings that they carry. And those mental loops become emotional moods, all right? And those moods become permanent filters through which life is interpreted. See, if you are going to live free, thrive authentically, or tap into your best self, you are going to have to reprogram your attitude. And to do that, you will need to reprogram your thoughts. And how do you do that? These are the 3 major steps that I think will shift your mind today. Step number 1, identify the loop. You need to identify the mental loop. Before you can reprogram your mind, you have to identify what has been playing. What mental loop are you stuck in? Ask yourself, what is the story I've been rehearsing about myself over time? What belief always seems to resurface when I am challenged? What is the narrative I keep telling myself when I fail or when I succeed? For example, do you hear yourself thinking, this always happened to me, why me? Or I will never be good enough, or people always let me down? That is your loop. That is your loop. That is the file, corrupt file, that your mind keeps opening when stress hits you or when the unknown arrives. Be honest with yourself. Bring those mental files to the surface. You cannot delete what you won't admit. You cannot do that. Until you admit those files are there and they are corrupted, you will not be able to delete them. And step 2, challenge the recording. Here is where you turn the light on. You challenge the recording. Every recording in your mental archive needs to be tested. Just because it is on file doesn't mean it is valid. Doesn't mean it is yours. Doesn't mean it has to be there. Ask yourself, who told me this was true? Has it ever not been true? What evidence contradicts this belief? How is this thought serving or sabotaging my growth? How is this thought serving my growth? How is this thought sabotaging my growth? See, you are not just challenging those thoughts, you are challenging the authority of those thoughts. Maybe someone criticized you in childhood and you internalized it. Maybe someone left you and you decided you are not lovable. Maybe a business failed and you concluded you are not a leader. That conclusion is not law. It is a label. It's important for you to now peel the label off right now. Peel it off. And finally, rewire the attitude. That is step number 3. Rewire the attitude. This is where the real transformation begins. Rewiring, rewriting is not just about affirmations. It is about mental consistency. It's about feeding your brain truth on purpose. Let me be real with you. Reprogramming is not about positive thinking alone. It is about accurate thinking that is consistently repeated. It is not about positive thinking alone. It is about accurate thinking that is consistently repeated. Speak to yourself with clarity. Yes, that moment hurt me, but it did not define me. Yes, their absence happened, but it is not my inadequacy. Yes, I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake. Yes, I am still becoming, and I give myself permission to grow. Speak it. Write it down, journal it, rehearse it, declare it until your neurons start wiring it into new mental pathways. Rewiring your attitude means you are no longer reactive, you are reflective. You are not just hoping for change, you are hosting change in yourself. Do you understand me? See, now, let me bring this a little bit closer to heart, because it is not just about mindset, it is about emotional health too. You see, when we fail to reprogram the ineptitudes in our attitude, we unintentionally project those ineptitudes onto our relationships, onto our goals, onto our futures. We sabotage opportunities because we don't believe we are worthy. We resist love because we expect abandonment. We underperform because we are scared of being found out. But when you begin to record new thoughts, new inner dialogues, you no longer live life as a victim of your mind. You start living as the author of your experience. That is the shift. Now, I want you to try something today, a real practical challenge today. Locate one area in your life where your attitude has been off, not because you are a bad person, but because your thinking has been polluted by an old story. Then trace it, find its origin, expose the lie, and rewrite a new accurate truth to take its place. Write it down. Say it out loud. Set it as a reminder on your phone if you have to, because if you don't program your mind will run old programs on its own on autopilot. And if the old story runs the show, it will keep creating the same results. Remember, you are not made to settle, you are made